Alright, welcome to The Fight. My name is Randall Hall, and this is a multi-part series on certification exams. So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. And how are you ready to take the battle? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is get there early. If it's a new location, you haven't been there before, make sure you've driven the route before so you can get there about a half hour to an hour early. You want to make sure you're calm, ready for the test. At that point, we're going to have a cheat sheet that we've created, or index cards, little notes that you've taken, and make sure you can review those right before the test. Now, at this point, this varies, but most centers only allow you to take in 2 forms of ID, your keys so you can get back in the car, and just leave everything else out in the car so you don't have to worry about it. The cram sheet, whether you're going to do that in your car or right before you take the test. And then you can put those in a locker or dispose of those at that point. Now, when you take the test itself, you're going to sit down, bring earplugs. Sometimes they're noisy if you have where sound bothers you. Also, when you take this test, we're going to look at this with 3 rounds. The first one is to take the test and to mark any questions that you don't know and come back to them. That second round, you'll answer those questions that you should know. Then the last and final pass of the test, you'll make sure nothing is blank, and you're going to guess on everything that you don't know. Now, there are some exams, though, that you can't go back, so just check with your test whether or not that is allowed. On some Cisco exams, for example, you can't go back. Once you answer the question, you cannot go back. But CompTIA and Microsoft questions you can. Now, remember, if you're out in the parking lot, you have all this information that's in short-term memory that you crammed in, they'll give you a piece of paper and you can purge that information right there on that piece of paper, or whiteboard sometimes they give you. So write that information down so it's not cluttering up your thought process. Now remember, you want to give you your best. And so as soon as you answer the last and final question, you're exhausted. You've given every ounce of energy. Now, again, the way to make sure you have enough energy is taking the test on the right time, the right day, having a good breakfast, a good night's sleep, making sure you're not sluggish. Also, you've prepared, you've done your labs and all your preparation. So it's key when you take this test to make sure you do that. Also, for me, when I go through the questions, I always look at the answers first and then actually look at the question. Typically, you can knock off a couple questions there, or answers, I should say, to the questions without even worrying about those. Microsoft does a really good job of leading you to the wrong answer. On a CompTIA test, it's pretty much cut and dry, right and wrong. On a Microsoft exam, there'll be several questions that appear to be right. So you want to knock those off and have as much information out there available to you to be successful. So again, look at those answers, knock off the ones that don't look right, and then look at that question once again and make sure everything matches up. And again, if you look at answers first, then questions, they won't lead you to the wrong answer.